Hey YouTube, this is PrimetimePokemon. Today I'm going to review Heart Gold Soul Silver Unleashed deck. Now this is the Chaos Control theme deck. It is Psychic, Fighting, and Darkness energy types. And you might wonder why it's 3 energy types. It's mainly Psychic and Fighting, and then the Tyranitar, as you can see in the front, is the only Dark type Pokemon in the deck, and that requires mostly colorless energy. We'll take a look at that later. I'll turn the box over and I'll read you the strategy with it. It says, the chaotic powers that have been unleashed can only be controlled by an amazing Pokemon trainer. Is it you? In the Chaos Control theme deck, you'll need to balance devastating attacks like Tyranitar's Tail Crush and Lucario's Bulk Up against more strategic approaches like Mismagius's Psychic Pulse. With all of your opponent's Pokemon vulnerable to your battle plans, can you control your forces until victory is yours? So the 3 main Pokemon in this deck are Mismagius, Lucario, and Tyranitar. And then here's a close-up of the deck list. I'll be going through these cards one by one, but you can just see on the back. I actually did this, I started reviewing this video a little bit ago, and then my camera battery died, so the stuff's out of the box already. Like I was saying, towards the end of the video, I'll have an annotation on the screen explaining how to win this deck, because I'm going to give away all the decks I always review, and I'm going to try and review the decks on the 1st of every month. But since I'm behind, I'm going to try and review all of the Heart Gold Soul Silver sets theme decks. I might release these videos more than once a month. But would be giving away all the cards in the deck, and here's the cards, all 60 of them. Also the playmat, the coin, you can see this one's a Tyranitar. The rule book, which is also, if you flip it over, the card list. And then damage counters, burn marker, and a poison marker. So I'll start reviewing the cards in here. I'll keep the deck close by the deck box, see I have a list, but I'll move this Tyranitar to the back. But before we do that, you can just notice that its first move is all colorless energy, and then its second move is half and half, so that's why there's only the 3 darkness energy cards, which we started out with on the top of the deck. 3 darkness energy cards. Then we have 10 fighting energy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And we have 11 psychic energy, so either there's more psychic Pokemon in this deck or they require more energy. So we have 11 psychic energy. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now we're going to start with the trainers. You can play as many trainers as you want each turn. And this trainer is called Pokemon Circulator. And there's only one of these in the deck. Now this trainer says to have your opponent switch one of his or her bench Pokemon with their active Pokemon. Now there's probably going to be questions about if you get to choose or if your opponent gets to choose. This is your opponent gets to choose. So it's not that advantageous to let your opponent choose, but it could be better to retreat their active Pokemon if it is something really good. So there's one of those. And there's 2 Pokeballs. Now these trainers are used to get evolution cards into your hand. It says to flip a coin if heads, search your deck for a Pokemon, show it to your opponent and put it into your hand, shuffle your deck afterward. So you have a 50% chance of being able to search your deck for any Pokemon card. I would try and find, well, if you don't have any basic Pokemon in your hand or on your bench, I'd definitely try to find a basic Pokemon, but more than likely you're going to want to try to find an evolution, a stage 1 or a stage 2 Pokemon card, so you can get Tyranitar or Mismagius out there as soon as possible, or Lucario. So there's 2 Pokeballs. There's 2 Life Herbs, I believe. Now this is a trainer as well. This one's another flip a coin thing, so you have a 50% chance of removing all special conditions and 6 damage counters from one of your Pokemon. Now this is really good, especially if you have a really high or a low HP Pokemon. It can make a more powerful Pokemon be able to last that much longer, or remove basically all damage counters off a not so powerful Pokemon with a lower HP. But once again, only 50% chance of hitting, so it might not be that good. But that's why it's a trainer compared to a supporter, which you only can use 1 supporter per turn. There's 2 interviewers questions in this deck. I'll read what it says. it says, look at the top 8 cards of your deck. Choose as many energy cards as you like. Show them to your opponent and put them into your hand. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. Now I can see that these supporter cards, these interviewers' questions, are extremely important since you only have 3 darkness energy cards in this deck. It'd be important, especially if you're going to use Tyranitar, to get the darkness energy cards into your hand as soon as possible. So if you can look at the top 8 cards of your deck and shuffle your deck afterwards, you could use 2 of these in a row and more than likely get at least 1 darkness energy out of your deck. So there's 2 of those in the deck. Then we have another trainer, a good rod this time. There's 2 of those. This is another flip a coin, so it seems like a lot of these trainers are flip a coin type moves, so you only have a 50% chance of actually being able to use it. This one says, flip a coin. If heads, search your discard pile for a Pokemon. Show it to your opponent and put it on top of your deck. If tails, search your discard pile for a trainer card. Show it to your opponent and put it on top of your deck. So this trainer isn't necessarily that good. I can see you'd be using it if you were trying to evolve into a Tyranitar, let's say, and you get knocked out when it is a Pupitar. You might want to go back into your discard pile and get that Pupitar. Or if Tyranitar is knocked out and you still have another Pupitar and a few more Larvitars in your deck, you might want to bring Tyranitar back into your hand by putting it back on top of your deck. Now, it isn't as good if you get a Tails to get another trainer, but you could get a trainer like a Life Herb where you can remove 6 damage counters from that Pokemon. So it has a good and bad. So it's actually not a 50% chance of actually being able to use this trainer. It's being a 50% chance of either getting a Pokemon, or the other 50% chance is getting a trainer card. But like you said, it doesn't go straight to your hand. You have to put it on top of your deck. And then the last supporter card in the deck is an Engineer's Adjustments, and there's 2 of those. And once again, you can use a supporter card once per turn. It says discard an energy card from your hand, then draw 4 cards. So this is important too. I could see it being able to use the darkness energy card. So say you have an extra psychic or a fighting type energy card in your hand, you could discard one of those and then draw 4 cards from your deck, and hopefully either get a stage 1 or a stage 2 Pokemon card or a darkness energy card. So there's 2 of those. Now we're going to talk about the Pokemon in the deck. I'll go through the basic Pokemon first and then do with the evolution cards. So the first card we have is a Zubat card. It's a psychic card, and in the deck we have only 2 of these, and we don't even have a Golbat or anything, so it's just a basic Pokemon card, basic psychic type Pokemon card. So it has 50 HP, which is about average. 60 is better, obviously, but 50 is okay for a basic Pokemon card. It has 2 moves. The first move is Glide, which is a colorless energy move, so you could use any type of energy for it. That way it is quick and it can do some damage. And the second move, choose 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. This attack does 10 damage to each of them. So if we have other Pokemon in the deck that does spread type damage, like this double attack, it could be important to get Zubat out right away in the game, put a psychic energy card on it, and then do 10 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. So we'll have to keep track of that later and see if there's any other cards that do spread damage. The next card in the deck is Beldum, and there's 4 of these. I see, yep. So 4 Beldums. There's no Metagross in this deck, but this would be an easy substitute. You could take out the 2 Zubat and then put Metagross in there instead. That's what I would suggest doing. If you're watching any of these videos, buy the theme deck right away. Get good with it, understand the strategy, and then one by one substitute different cards, more powerful cards into the deck. So we have 4 Beldum. This is a better basic Pokemon. It has a 60 HP, but it only has 1 move, which is called Reaction. It requires 1 Psychic Energy card, and it does 10 damage. And this move also allows you to switch Beldum with one of your bench Pokemon. And since it does have a 2 colorless energy retreat cost, this could be more useful. That you could, I do like it that it doesn't say you have to switch, it says you may switch. So if you get this card out there to start, and then you get say 40 damage on this card, and you don't want to If you don't want to waste 2 energy cards on this card just so you can retreat it, since the highest move only requires 1, you can use a reaction and then switch it on its own for a more powerful Pokemon on your bench. There's 4 Beldums in the deck, and then there's 2 Metangs which evolve from Beldum, and it only has 80 HP, which isn't too great for a stage 1. The stage 1 usually has at least 90 HP. It is a psychic type again, and it has 2 moves. First is Energy Crane, and it says to search your discard file for up to 2 psychic energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. So I could see this being a useful card to use, especially if I look at what Pokemon would be. Mismagius would be the best psychic type card in this deck, so if that card requires a lot of energy cards, I would use Energy Crane, get 2 psychic energy cards from my deck, and attach it to probably Mismagius, like that. And then the second move, Psy Punch, it does require 3 energy cards and only does 50 damage, which is pretty weak for 3 energy cards. Usually the average damage for 3 energy cards is 60, but it does have 2 colorless energy cards, so you can put fighting energy on here. It would be useful. Like I said, I would suggest putting Metagross in this deck instead of the Zubats. So that's it for the psychic type Pokemon. We have, no, we must have Mismagius. Yep. So Misdreavus and Mismagius are still coming. So Metang, there's 2 of those. Those are stage 1. Now we're going to switch over to some fighting type Pokemon. Should be 4 Riolu in the deck, and then 1 Lucario. So the Riolu is a basic fighting type Pokemon card. As you can see, it has 60 HP, so it's pretty decent for a basic Pokemon card. It has 2 moves. The first move is a colorless energy card, which is good. You can attach any of the energy from this deck to it and does 10 damage. And the second move is Double Chop. It takes 2 energy cards, 1 colorless and 1 fighting, and it does flip 2 coins. This attack does 20 damage times the number of heads. So it actually isn't that bad a move. It can do up to 40 damage. More than likely it'll probably do 20 for 2 energy cards, which is basically the average for a basic Pokemon with a 2 energy cost attack. So 4 of those. And then Lucario is one of the main cards in this deck. In the strategy, it talks about Bulk Up as a devastating attack. So we'll take a look at that. I'm actually familiar with Bulk Up because it's on an actual card that I've used in my old deck. I actually have a video of that with Lucario. I use Lucario from Legends Awakened. So we'll take a look at this Lucario. There's only 1 in the deck, and it's 90 HP. It's a fighting type Pokemon card. It has 2 moves. The first is Bulk Up, and the second is Magnum Punch. Now I can see with this Bulk Up, it's a colorless energy cost, so you can attach any energy card to it. That's good. And the Magnum Punch will do this first, since it is a little easier card move to look at. It just does 50 damage for only 2 energy cards, which is pretty good. 2 fighting energy cards. I do like that Lucario has a colorless energy, 1 colorless energy retreat cost. That's quite low for a stage 1. We'll look at Bulk Up. It says, during your next turn, each of Lucario's attacks does 30 more damage to the defending Pokemon. So with this card, you'd want to have 2 fighting energy cards on it. There's no doubt about it, because even though this is a colorless energy card, you want to do Magnum Punch the next turn. So you could do actually 80 damage for like 2 fighting energy cards. So you'd want to do the first turn, you want to use Bulk Up, and then you'd want to do Magnum Punch. You'd have to go back and forth between those. So you do Bulk Up 1 turn and then Magnum Punch in the next, and you'd be able to do 110 damage in 2 turns with only 2 energy cards. And it's nice you don't have to discard any energy cards or anything, so you can always do damage every turn. So you'd have to do Bulk Up 1 turn, and then the next turn Magnum Punch would do 80, and then you'd have to use Bulk Up again if you'd want to do 30 damage the next turn. I'd also suggest to use Life Herb with this card, since it only has 90 HP. 60 damage would do a lot. So removing 60 damage would be keeping this card alive for another turn. Now we're going to Misdreavus, which in the strategy, Mismagius, it talks about a Psychic Pulse, so that's a more strategic approach, so look at this. So Misdreavus is a Psychic type Pokemon card. It has 50 HP, which is a little low for basic Pokemon. It only has a 1 move, which is called Sharpshooting, and it says to choose one of your opponent's Pokemon. This attack does 10 damage to that Pokemon. So this is another spread type damage card, since you can choose any of your opponent's Pokemon, active or benched. So if you look at both these cards, they're both psychic type, and for each require one psychic energy card. And Zubat actually does a better move. It has choose 2 of your Pokemon. Opponent's bench Pokemon does 10 damage to each. Now this one does 10 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, but both spread type damage. I'd be curious to see what Mismagius' move is, and see if it's a spread damage type as well. So there's 4 Misdreavus in this deck, and then only 1 Mismagius. And we'll look at it here. It's a stage 1 Pokemon card with 90 HP, so right around average. It actually has a Poke Power, which is the first one in this deck to have a Poke Power, and then it has a Psychic Pulse move. I'll read the Poke Power first. It's called Magical Trance, and it says, once during your turn, you may move a psychic energy attached to one of your Pokemon to another of your Pokemon. This power can't be used if Mismagius is affected by a special condition. So this reminds me of, what move does it have? Another psychic type Pokemon, this one right here. Matang's move, Energy Crane, where you can search your discard pile for up to 2 psychic energy cards and attach them to one of your Pokemon, or attach them to any of your Pokemon any way you like. So this move you only can do once, but you can move 1 energy card from one Pokemon to another, and this one you can move 2 energy cards from your deck to any of your other Pokemon. So you can, if you use these 2 cards, if you have Mismagius on your bench and then have Matang as your active Pokemon, you can actually attach 3 psychic energy cards to one Pokemon in one turn if you wanted. And then its only move is called Psychic Pulse, which only requires 1 psychic type energy card. It says it does 30 damage and does 10 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. So this is a very good card to use, especially with Matang, no, not Matang, with Misdreavus before it, and then Zubat, I was talking about earlier. Both those cards do damage to their bench Pokemon. I would actually try and start the game out with Zubat, since it does 10 damage to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. That way you can get twice as many bench Pokemon damage on it before you play Misdreavus out there and be able to do 10 damage to one Pokemon, and then eventually evolve into Mismagius, where you can do 10 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. So if you have all 5 of their bench Pokemon that have damage counters, this move can actually do 30 to the active Pokemon and then 50 total damage to all of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So that's a very good spread damage type Pokemon card right there. Next we have 4 Larvitar. Now we're getting into Tyranitar. So as you can see, Tyranitar is the only dark card in the deck. So that's why there's only 3 dark energy cards in the deck. We have 4 Larvitar. It is a basic Pokemon, fighting type, HP of 60. So it's not bad for a basic type. And it has 2 moves, nothing special, just Bite is only 1 cardless energy card and does 10 damage. And then Knuckle Punch does 20 damage for 1 fighting energy card and 1 colorless energy card. So a pretty average basic Pokemon card, but necessary for Tyranitar. And then we have 2 Pupitar, so we have a 4-2-1 line of Tyranitar. Pupitar is a stage 1 Pokemon card, but it has a really low HP of 70. Fighting type. Now this one has a Poke Body. Now the difference between Poke Bodies and Poke Powers is that Poke Powers are not always in effect, and Poke Bodies are always into effect. You have to call a Poke Power into effect to actually use it. And most Poke Powers you only can use 1 per turn, whereas a Poke Body you can use many times as you want per turn. But it says Boost Gas is the Poke Body name, and it says if Pupitar has any energy cards attached to it, the retreat cost for Pupitar is 0. So which isn't really that big a deal because it has a 1 cardless energy card retreat cost anyways. So Poke Body not too great. But we'll look at Rage. This is move 2 colorless energy cards, so that way we can attach the Darkness energy card to it if we want to get to Pupitar better. It does 20 damage plus 20 more damage for each damage counter on Pupitar. So this doesn't make sense to me if you have a Poke Body of Boost Gas with its retreat cost for Pupitar of 0, when you want a lot of damage on it anyways to use Rage and do more damage. So if it had 60 damage on it, it actually could do 80 damage for only 2 colorless energy cards. So there's 2 Pupitars, and then the most powerful card in the deck is Tyranitar. Stage 2 Pokemon card, 140 HP, which is quite good. It is a Darkness type, and as you can see on Hyper Beam, this is the only card in the deck that requires 2 Darkness Energy cards, and there's only 3 in the deck, so you're going to have to use, what would it be? It'd be, I'd use Interviewer's Questions, the supporter, to look at the top 8 cards of your deck, and then choose as many energy cards as you like, so you'd hope to get Darkness Energy cards out of that, from that supporter. And then you could also use Engineer's Adjustments, where you could discard an energy card like I was talking about earlier, a Psychic or a Fighting type energy card, and draw 4 cards and hope for a Darkness Energy card. And then Good Rod would also be the trainer to use to try to get Darkness Energy cards. If you get a Tails, then you get a trainer card to put on top of your deck, and then I'd put either... Actually, that one actually works, so don't do anything with Good Rod. So I just try and use supporters. I try to use Engineer's Adjustments and Interviewer's Questions to get the energy cards into your hand as fast as possible. But we'll look at the 2 moves. Tail Crush is a colorless energy move, so there's only 3 colorless energy cards, and this move does 40 damage unless you get a heads, and then it does 60 damage. So a real average move unless you get a heads. Well, below average move unless you get a heads, and it's average. And Hyper Beam is actually really good. It does, well, not extremely good. It takes 4 energy cards, 2 Darkness Energies, and 2 colorless, and it does 80 HP, which is average for 4 energy cards. Most cards that have 4 energy cost attack do 80 damage. And the good thing about it is it makes the opponent discard an energy card when you use this move. So it might be a little hard to get Darkness Energy cards on this card, and you have to get it to a stage 2 Pokemon. It takes a while to evolve into Tyranitar, but you can use the Good Rod and Pokeball, both those trainer cards, to get to Tyranitar and Pupitar faster. So overall, I actually thought this Tyranitar card would be a little better. It's not that great. Its HP is 140, which is quite high, but neither of its moves are really anything special. I do like the strategic part of the Psychic type Pokemon, the spread damage type deck, spread damage type cards with Zubat, Metang, and Mismagius, and Misdreavus too. So it's Mismagius, Zubat, and Misdreavus that work all together. So I try to put out a Zubat right away and get as much damage on the defending your opponent's bench as soon as possible. That way you can then put you'd have to put in Misdreavus and do even more damage with Sharpshooting, and then evolve it into Mismagius, and then use Psychic Pulse to do 10 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon that have 10 damage. Or, I mean, a damage counter on their bench. So overall, I could definitely see changing this deck. I don't really think it's too great. It's not as good as the Feraligatr deck I reviewed last time. So it's a good deck to start out. I probably wouldn't use it myself. I'd probably do a lot of changes to it. So overall, this deck's about average. But now the part you've been waiting for, I'm going to give this deck away. So in order to win this deck, you have to do a couple of things. First, you have to subscribe to me on YouTube, and second, you have to be a follower of me on my blog. Now, in all my videos, I have a blog link in the underbar below, and I can show you what my blog looks like if you're unaware. This is what it come up with if you click on that blog link, and then on the left side here, you can see my mouse. You scroll down a little bit, and then it says follow here, and you click on follow, and then this will come up, and it says sign in using the account you've already created. So you can use a Gmail account, a Twitter account, or a Yahoo account. And it's quite easy if you don't have one of those accounts already to sign up for one. Like a Yahoo email account takes probably a minute or 2 to sign up, and it's absolutely free, and you don't even have to do anything with your email account or anything. And it also has a couple things under here. So you just have to do that, and then that means you're a follower. And then you have, boxes down here, like this person here's name is Skull Kaiser, and then a couple other ones like that. And the way you'd win this theme deck, the Tyranitar theme deck, in this video showing right here, I'll be posting it soon while you're watching it already. But what you need to do is you need to read my card reviews every day within probably a week or 2 after I post my Tyranitar theme deck video, and then in the body of the card review, on one of the days, it'll say, if you want to win the Tyranitar theme deck, do this. And it'll be a sentence or a couple words. You have to type, you have to go back to the Tyranitar theme deck video on YouTube, and in the comment section you have to post your follower name, so that means that I know you signed up for my blog, so that you could put, like, this is James O'Rourke, you put James O'Rourke, and then you'd put whatever I tell you to put in the card review, like that. You put that in the review of my deck on YouTube, and the first person that does this wins the theme deck. So if you're a follower like that, you'll have a much better chance of knowing when I post a new card video or card review on my blog, and then the first person that does whatever I say in the blog on my YouTube channel will win the theme deck. Just make sure that you have your follower name and then followed by the couple of words that I tell you to type. So good luck, everyone. Before you go, make sure you check out all the links in the underbar below, my Twitter, Facebook, and blog accounts, and stay tuned for more videos. Thank you.